Right, so thank you very much for inviting me here to speak on behalf of Ericsson about new application trends in 5G networks. My name is Possne, and I'm heading up an area within product line 5G RAN software, focusing on new applications and ecosystem collaboration. So today I will speak a little bit about those tantalizing new use cases of 5G and what we've seen so far happening out in the markets. I will mainly be focusing on consumer, although enterprise by no means is exempt from our focus. So I'll take you through a couple of examples that we think are interesting in terms of slicing developments to begin with, media broadcast, fixed wireless access, gaming use cases, finally USB and some brief notes on red traffic. When we talk about new services in 5G, we usually start with this sector, if you will, where we have listed a couple of adjacent use cases that we feel are closer perhaps to the mobile operator's core business, and some more further out innovative services that we see have potential to become launched in 5G networks. So, for example, we have seen a great momentum in fixed wireless access, which is arguably not that different from mobile operators' core business. But we also see encouraging movements in areas like mobile gaming. We talked already about private networks, and we believe that these are precursors to may come further on, like more immersive experience, XR, gaming, etc. So the challenge then, as we see it, I mean, the operator, you as an operator, you will have one network, but you will have to cater for multiple use cases, right? With various requirements. And I've pictured this in a swim lane analogy here. You will have a fixed wireless slice, you might have to have an economy slice for some of your smartphone subscribers. Then you have others that are prepared to pay somewhat extra perhaps for a cloud gaming service, for you to provide them that quality experience and that latency and throughput requirement that is needed for the service to function at its best. Media broadcast, AR, VR, etc. So I wanted just to give an expose to begin with, a little bit of what we see out there in terms of encouraging developments. Much of this builds on the concept of network slicing, and as you're all familiar with, that's one of the key advantages of 5G, especially 5G SA. Some of these are trial, but many are encouragingly enough commercial in the networks. If I were just to divvy them up a little bit into different parts, we can say that we see some movements in terms of event slicing, as we've heard this morning from the gentleman about Singtel, who went commercial with 5G event slicing at the F1 event. You also have the same type of slicing, but this time it's a B2B use case by T-Mobile, in terms of the Red Bull diving challenge, or the King's Coronation for that matter, by Vodafone UK. So that's really where we see encouraging developments where 5G can come in and provide some extra value for operators in order to monetize. And then we have also, I will talk more about the encouraging developments in the smartphone ecosystem with regards to the Unified Route Selection Policy, or URSP. Yeah, so those are some of the examples then of network slicing and monetization use cases actually happening, but albeit on a smaller scale, I would admit. So the first big use case as we see it in 5G after mobile broadband then, that would be fixed wireless access, right? So we have our regular Ericsson Mobility Report, which many of you are familiar with, and here we have a projection that in 2028 we'll have around 300 million subscribers with fixed wireless access, which is huge, right? And 80% of them will be using 5G for that. We also saw in a very bold announcement by the Indian operator Alliance Jio the other day that they aim for 100 million subscribers on fixed wireless access. They didn't specify timeline, it's perhaps fortunate for them, but if they are successful that will even break that prognosis of 300 million, right? So that will go substantially above. We also see the potential in 2028 of that business is around $67 billion for the operators. So there's a lot of encouraging movement in the US. Turkey is not exempt by any means. And then, I mean, the challenge here is, of course, that when you have these subscribers starting to grow and consume resources in your network, you need to utilize efficient methods of throttling or stabilizing the experience for the other users. And again, that's where slicing comes in handy, right? So that is something we see major operators such as Geo or T-Mobile starting to experiment with. So another area I talked about a little bit is how 5G can substitute the oftentimes expensive truck rolls required for media broadcast during live events, where you typically have fiber pulled to a production van and you have a big crew of people out by the site that then sends back the video stream to the control center. With 5G SA and dedicated network slicing via dedicated uplink throughput, we've seen that you can substantially reduce the cost of this production for live events by having journalists and photographers going out with cameras mounted with dedicated SIM cards who directly then send the video stream back to the production facility in the central location of the broadcaster. So that's been fairly successful, I would say. We've seen operators like Far EasTone here, T-Mobile again mentioned, and Vodafone trying this out live with customers in the network. Another big expectation that we have is on cloud gaming, right? So about 15% of cloud gaming today is mobile. And if you look at what has happened with, let's say, the media industry, with players like Netflix or Spotify, you see that that type of consumption of media takes place via streaming from the cloud. So we do not see that there's any reason why gaming should be different, right? And if you look at the market size, it's twice the size of the movie and music industry together. Right? So we see a lot of promise there, and a lot of operators, again, bundling subscriptions with specific gaming experiences. What we have yet to see, I think we have seen some body movements in Hong Kong, but we have yet to see operators dedicating specific network quality of service for this service. What you have is operators like Ooredoo and Optus that have trialed and proved that it's possible to see willingness to pay with the customers in terms of getting specific VPN tunnels for overseas connectivity to the servers. So there's definitely some willingness to pay there, we believe, and there's definitely a possibility for operators to provide a better experience with network slicing. I would even argue it's very crucial that the operators realize this, because if you look at the service requirements of cloud gaming and AR, which is fairly similar according to our research, you will see that it's not just regular mobile broadband. Firstly, you need a better latency in terms of, let's say, 40 to 80 millisecond round trip time approximately, but you also need a high throughput to be guaranteed. And if you have that type of throughput, as you see here, normal bucket subscribers will quite fast eat up their data quota, right? So you need to do something smart here to avoid that possible unlimited plans get devoid of the value and the price erosion starts. Or you need to introduce some smart bundling here as an operator, we think, to capitalize on this opportunity and to avoid getting killed by the requirements of this use case. So I promised to talk a bit about URSP, or Unified Route Selection Policy, and that's something we've been working with our partners for a couple of years on now. Encouragingly enough, we've seen, I mean, that was in 2021, I believe, or 22, that Google came online and supported multiple slices on a smartphone. So to be able to differentiate application experience. And now we recently also saw Apple launching this in their full release. So, and we also see already T-Mobile have started to explore that on their 5G networks, giving developers access to try video calling applications with guaranteed superior quality on demand on their networks. So you have the likes of Zoom, FaceTime, Teams, etc. testing this with the operator then, and then remains to be then proven that it can also be commercialized from an end user point of view. But I think we are many that have seen with the advent of Teams calling surging during the pandemic that for an enterprise customer it's actually vital to be able to provide that connectivity for important business calls, right? Finally, RedCap then. So that's like the new kid on the block, we feel. It came out in release 17. We were quite early out supporting this technology. We've been fortunate enough to be able to demonstrate both FTD, TDD, and Warner with this technology with 3 of our operator partners in Australia and US. And we believe that this can be an enabler for new type of propositions such as industry wireless sensors, video surveillance, and also an improvement in the capabilities of existing wearables like smartwatches, where battery time is perhaps today not optimized. So definitely energy efficiency is one thing that is improved versus the Cat 1 to Cat 4 categories that it replaces. Other things are things like latency, improved spectral efficiency, and support for other 5G techniques such as positioning. So to end my presentation, and I see I have plenty of time, so if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them. For Ericsson, what we see as the next wave of 5G will be more new services, which we aim to spur the co-creation with our partners and customers on. More performance. We never compromise on performance. That's been the cornerstone of our 5G strategy since the start. Sustainability was mentioned also for the benefit of the planet and also for the benefit of the ever-increasing energy prices. And also intelligent RAN automation to make the networks easier to deploy and to operate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jacob.
I have a question. There is a slide that was saying that T-Mobile is opening their network slice better for developers.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand who are those developers and what is the expected outcome, please? Could you please?
Sure, I can try and elaborate a bit on that. So what Apple have enabled is that in the smartphone they have a category called communications apps that can be enabled to reach a specific socket, if you will, and more technically so, for a specific type of latency. A specific can access then a specific slice into the T-Mobile network. So what T-Mobile are now doing is that they're letting those developers from the different companies that would be interested in providing such a superior experience trial in specific locations that they have designed to be available for this type of better latency or better reliability type of slides for the streaming.
So can we say that T-Mobile is trying to build their own developer community?
Well, sort of, but I mean the developers will still be developing on, like the support in the app would be through the Apple Store as usual, right? But they would test and optimize the device, the application, so that it would work with the type of latency and bandwidth properties that T-Mobile has in those locations to work, let's say, hopefully better than the regular mobile ROM or regular communications apps without that support.
All right, any other questions? I do have a quick one though. You mentioned that the cloud gaming is only 18% based on mobile connections. Do you see any trend the number will go up?
I don't have the figures on the trend, but I mean, that's one possibility, right? When you have increasingly more capabilities in the cloud, and you have the increased capability in the handset and of the network, not to forget, right? So if we can build better predictability in terms of latency and jitter and so on, that definitely improves the user experience for the games. I mean, we've also shown techniques like L4S, which we demonstrated a few times now in the Mobile World Congress, to improve the experience of various XR type of games. And I think it would also conversely improve other type of games where a real-time component is involved. So it's perhaps not your regular Tetris, but other types of games.
All right.
I have a very quick question here about the network slicing. So the network slicing that is deployed for TMO, is it for the US company or for the Europe?
So this particular example is T-Mobile US that have deployed this.
Yeah. To the best of my knowledge, some of the slicing right now is partial slicing, which means it covers the core network part only. So is it going to be a end-to-end or still a partial slicing up to now for the cloud gaming?
Well, I mean, it's always up to the operator, of course, to implement it how they like. But so far, the examples that I've shown, they've all been sliced in the radio network.
Including the radio part?
Yes.
Okay, cool, thanks.